Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to more Tyrion Culprit, Turning of the Arcane, where last time we kind of settled that civil's case, and now we're on to a whole different case. We're not even playing as Tyrion. We're playing as Ruby. I keep forgetting. Hold on, there's something I keep forgetting to do this. So, I'm gonna make it work this time. Definitely gonna do something, and you guys are gonna know exactly what I do very shortly. It helps if I go to the... No, I went to the right place. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm doing this. I'm doing it right. Just... I keep forgetting to do it, so I'm just gonna do it now so that I can remember why. So, let me... Oh, by the way, it is linking the 2025 Extra Life to the tracker. Because I set it up a few days ago. Where is it? I'll have to do this later. I'm gonna be in the... Unless... No, I'll do it later. We have game to play. We have game to play. Okay? The game will be played. Well, a game to be played. There's many games to be played, so you guys can play whatever you want. But I'm playing Cuthbert the game, and you cannot stop me. Yeah. Can't be stopped. Let's just, let's just go. Eh? That night, the night before. Ugh. Feel so out of place here. Okay, so we're back as Tyrion. Despite your clear hatred for the nobility, you find yourself at a party filled with aristocrats. You hardly recognize anyone, but many of the people here clearly recognize you. You're used to receiving dirty looks from the upper class, but you can literally feel everyone's disdain for you. Why are you in a corner by yourself? Can't believe I let you talk me into coming here. For reasons unknown, you lost your train of thought. I've been wanting to wear this dress for a while. What do you think? What's wrong? You suddenly feel extremely flustered. It's kind of difficult to make eye contact with her. Her eyes are up there, Tyrion. Oh, I see. Are you enchanted by my beauty? Come on, say something! Ever since that night at our next, you felt like something has been off between you two. Am I interrupting something? Miss Tomria? I wanted to check into you before we went to meet with Lord Erga. You spot a woman silently following her. Is she the client that Miss Tomia was representing? You're pretty sure this is your first time meeting her, but she looks familiar for some reason. Hi, I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm Miss Tormia's ward. You extend your hand and shake hers. She has an instructor to her, so you hope you're not being too informal. Instead of taking your hand, she clamps her hands together and takes a deep breath. What? So sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's a bit of a habit of mine. Nevertheless, she finally shakes your hands. I heard so much about you, Mr. Cuthbert. My name is Beatrice. You're not sure about the details, but your mentor appears to be brokering a deal between Beatrice and William Frege. William Frege is the ruling lord of the House Frege, so you're a little curious about what kind of deal he's been involved in. But you learn not to pry into your mentor's business. Not until now, at least. Anyways, we'll probably be gone for a while. Can I trust you two to not cause trouble? Oh, who are you talking to? You're talking to the... You're in a manner filled with the highest members of nobility. You might meet some familiar yet unfriendly faces. Well, keep a low profile, Miss Tomria. Please do. So why were you so insistent on accompanying Miss Tomria to the Lord's ball? That's... You know you can tell me anything, right? I guess everything that happened in Ardex made me think about things. I don't really know anything about my past or where I came from. I didn't want to think about it because my dad and my mom, but you wanted to find out who your biological parents are. I do, but I don't know now. Being here is starting to make me feel weird. I saw my mom, and looking for my birth parents feels wrong somehow. I don't think that's true. Really? Miss Tomia adopted me as a child, and she gave me a purpose in life. But I still keep my childhood memories of my mother close to me. Miss Tomia and my mother are both important to me. I don't think it's disrespectful to find out more about yourself, and I'm sure your mother will understand. You think so? Of course. And I'm also sure of another thing. If I'm with you, I doubt any of the nobles here will want to speak with you. Yeah, I don't want to be rude, but don't worry. I can find something to fill the time. I can play chess by myself. You're just gonna play chess alone, aren't you? She saw right through me. Maybe. You really need to learn to talk to other people. Make some new friends or something. Sorry, I hear? I don't need more friends. I usually just want to spend most of my time with you anyways. Anyways, I'm gonna try to talk to some people. Yeah, I'll see you later. Plus leads to mingle with some other of the partygoers. You find yourself with a very little to do, and you doubt anyone would want to engage in small talks with the likes of you. Your hands instinctively go to your satchel, and it contains your foldable chessboard. Well, not if I have anything better to do. I should try to find an empty table to play on. Each table has a centerpiece of flowers on it. Most of the seats at the tables are filled, and it doesn't look you'll be able to play here. This place looks pretty quiet, but there aren't any tables anywhere. Why can't we just play on the floor? Well, I could play on the floor. But what the? While you walk through the hallways, you suddenly find yourself face to face with a large wolf. Immediately upon seeing you, the wolf quickly gallops away. Did someone leave a door open? You think about telling someone, but you remember that the manor is full of nobles. You're sure a servant will spot it eventually, and it's not if anyone will believe you anyways. But it's probably best to find somewhere else to play. You look further on in the manor and find a room with several displays. It looks like a gallery of some sort, but something slightly out of place here. There are a few nobles in the room, and they're all silently appreciating the exhibits. Perhaps Lord Frigga must have paid a museum to create some kind of historical display of the Lord's Ball. Now there's a face I haven't seen before. As you take a closer look at one of the expenses, an old man approaches you. Is that a monkey on his back? Hello, my name is Harold Harrelson. What an intro! What a great name! That sounds like a name I would come up with, honestly. Harold Harrelson. Hello, Harold Harrelson. Is that a synonym or something? Nope. It's just his name. I see. Wait. He's a museum curator? He must be extremely knowledgeable about Ravengard's history. I wonder, would you happen to know anything about the ancient dragons? Ah, like the Scaled Lord, Raelton? There are many pieces in this gallery. Some of them were items that were wielded by the 7 heroes of Ravengard. Legends say that some of these items were directly enchanted by Rettenham himself. Enchanted by Rettenham? Does that mean they also don't follow the rules of magic? Perhaps you should examine these more closely. A pair of metallic armbands. There are several magical runes carved into them. Those are armbands of intellect. They were actually created by a member of House Frigga. It'd be better if it was Harold Harrelson Jr., son of Harold Harrelson. God damn it, how deep would that go? How deep? I want to know, how deep can you make that? How many Harolds can you put in one sentence to make this man's title? Go! Actually created by a member of House Frigga many centuries ago. Centuries? That would make these armbands one of the first creations out of our art of history. That's correct. Legends say that whoever wore these armbands would be granted unparalleled levels in intellect. Many believe that House Frigga created these to aid them in their study of magic. Yay, more notes. A pair of golden earrings. There are a small jewel embedded into each one of them. Those are earrings of availability. It says that the Scaled Lord imbued the portion of his immobility into these. Legends say that whoever wore them would have their lifespan increased tenfold. Okay, so where's the earrings that reverse that effect? Because I would like my lifespan with everything going on. Yeah. This is why I escaped the world of video games, but we're not here to talk about that stuff. The Scaled Lord could do things like that? Of course, he is the Scaled Lord after all. Are there any spells that can create a similar effect to these earrings? Not that I know of. A spell like that would probably fall under the school of necromancy. Wallace! Where's Wallace when you need him? And I'm sure you know how much the kingdom scrutinizes that type of magic. Ah, so he must know who we are then. And he knows we must have dealt with highly with the Nightgrave case. Ah, wow, words. A painting of a researcher. That's Professor Matt Fairland. He was a professor of some renown. He was a researcher at the combinational magic theory. What's that? It's the study of how different types of magic interact with each other. Hark the herald angels sing. Praise to me, the son of Harold Harrelson. The son of Harold Harrelson. Harrelson justed blessed with a son who shall be named Harold Harrison III, and his name shall be passed down to his son. Wonderful! That was wonderful! He famously ran experiments on what would happen if two anti-magic fields would overlap each other. And that's how we know that if two anti-magic fields overlap each other, they cancel each other out, like multiplying two negative numbers together and getting a positive number. I remember that from What Happens Tomorrow. Game-wise. That's actually pretty interesting. What were the results of the experiment? Well, they had mages enter the space where the two fields overlapped. Turns out that those mages were able to use magic in that space. Wait, how would that be possible? They would have two anti-magic fields affecting them. When two fields overlap, they cancel each other out. I heard that it's akin to multiplying two negative multiple numbers together. That's literally what I just said, Harold! Man, imagine actually knowing this stuff. A painting of some sort of scientist. That is Dr. Luke Cuthbert. He was an alchemist and inventor of one of those from one of the branch families. He is well known for his studies into imbuing intelligence into automatrons. Intelligent automatrons. Would that make them similar to arcane constructs? Yes, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Lord Von Sanctus used Dr. Cuthbert's research to create those constructs. So in essence, Von Sanctus is taking credit for someone else's work. Okay, add that to the list of charges he's for! Also being a sore loser! Sorry, I will never get over that one. We totally destroyed his ass and chest. Alright, let's talk about the sword. It's a crimson red sword, short sword. That's the sword of spell eating. Yeah, I already know. Legend said that it had the power to protect its wielder from any kind of magic. So it's like an anti-magic field. In a way, yes, but it had less than heroic origins, I'm afraid. It said that this sword was created through a blood pact between a mage and a demon. A demon? Legends say that there was some demons that had power to absorb and nullify magic. A demon must have imbued some of that power into the sword. Or at least, that's what the legends say. Is it safe to put something like this on display? What if the legends are true? Don't worry, these displays are fortified with several abjuration spells. I bet even Lord Steelman would have trouble getting into this. So, what is this story doing at the Lord's Ball, Mr. Harrelson? Harold. Haraldson. Right. Harold. Anyways, Lord Frigga invites me to my museum to set up some displays here every year. You must think it adds a semblance of culture. He's a fool. Ooh, Harold doesn't seem to like Lord Frigga. To be fair, I guess we really never met somebody who does like Lord Frigga. You own a museum? Yes, it's Harrelson Hall of History. Located in the city of Homisil. That's a mouthful. Don't want to hear a mouthful again? I'll say it again. Unfortunately, I don't think his guests appreciate the historical significance of these items. Honestly, I think you're the only person in years who have taken a meaningful interest in them. I was just trying to find a quiet place to play chess by myself. Sorry, but I really had to ask. Is that a monkey riding on your back? Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene. Your familiar? A familiar is a creature that a mage has formed a magical bond with. With that bond, our souls are forever connected. I can communicate with him telepathically. I can even cast my spells through him if I wanted to. Really? I never knew a spell like that existed. It's quite rare. Very few mages take time to learn how to cast it. Well, I think we have a new spell that Celeste is going to try to learn. Eugene helps me with my day-to-day. These old bones aren't as spread as they used to be, after all. Harold. Harold. That's what I said! As a historian, do you have a lot of knowledge... knowledgeable about the ancient dragons? The answer to that question is somewhat complicated. What do you mean? Unfortunately, a lot of historical texts in my collection have been altered or even outright destroyed by the Church of Balamut. Because of that, it's quite difficult to separate myths from actual historical accounts. Right, I remember encountering a similar problem at the Imperial Academy. Ah, you must be quite dedicated to your studies. They let this simpleton into the Imperial Academy. Oh, he... Rude, but you suppose it can't be helped. I had to fight the church for a long time before I could even display a dragon bones in my museum. In the history of ancient dragons, was there any instance of them granting powers to humans? Well, of course. That's the entire premise based off the 7 heroes of Isengard. Does this idiot not even know about that? Right, but was there anything before that? Did they ever grant supernatural abilities that didn't follow the rules of arcane magic? Granting supernatural abilities, you say? Oh, yeah, now we can see why Tyrion is interested in this subject. That sounds more like something demonic in nature, rather than draconic. Comic? Much like the ancient dragons, demons are stuff of myths. I don't think that's really true, though. There are many stories of people selling their souls for untold power. Selling their souls? Do we even have a soul? You recall the note that your mother left you before she was executed. For my eyes peer beyond the divine gates as I once did. She told you to use her eyes. Did your mother make a deal with the demon to give you the eyes of Horus? Is something wrong? This simpleton is far too superstitious. No, nothing's wrong. It's a bit too much to take in, but you might be overthinking this. There hasn't been any record sightings of demons in recent history. They're only secondhand stories and superstitions. The Eyes of Horus can't possibly be demonic, can it? Oh, it probably is. You hope Celeste's investigation's going better than yours. How dare you insult any saint that I engaged in an adulterous relationship? That's not what Enough! If you try to speak with me again, I'll have the King's Guard throw you out. This isn't working. I don't think asking them like that will be very effective. What? Did you expect anyone here to be truthful with you? You're essentially asking them if they cheated on their spouses. Have you been spying on me? Not intentionally, but I was surprised to see you here of all places. Right, I guess that makes sense. You're not party crashing, are you? Of course not! I came here with Ruby and Tyrion! That honestly raises more questions than answers, but I'll take your word for it. Anyways, you're looking for your birth parents, are you? Aren't you? Was I being that obvious? It's the only reason I could think of. Why else would you be trying to speak with members of the nobility? I don't know if it's any of my business, but I think it's hard. I think hard about whether if this is truly what you want. Celeste may have got hers on sale, but you're telling Arya is literally one of the members of the four pillars. She probably didn't even need to buy it on sale. In fact, she probably didn't even buy it. Her fiance did. Get out. I will not have you two. I will not have you sexually these two. Getting entangled with you is great, but only bring you misery. I read your file. You have everything you could ever want. You have your mother and your friends. And you even have a lover. But what? You're in a relationship with Mr. Cuthbert, are you not? No, Tyrion's not my... Really? From the way you two behave around no one other, I just assumed. Alright. It's pretty obvious you have feelings for him. What? How obvious? About how obvious her feelings are to the Crown Prince. Sorry. Well, we won't bring up Aster around right now. Did he seriously not notice? I think someone with his deductive reasoning would easily see through you. Oh yeah? What about you and Aster? Oh, okay, we're gonna bring up Aster. Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about. Come on, I was there on Sanctus Manor. It's so obvious you like him. Please, you're grossly exaggerating things. He may be my fiancé, but I only have the utmost respect for him. Right, that's not what the Eye of Horus is telling me though. And what if I told you who's standing right behind you? Do you honestly think I'd fall for something like that? What are you falling for? The goddamn prince is here! Your Highness! Oh, hello, Lady Steelwind. Your Highness, please don't run ahead like that. Your conversation with Harold was definitely interesting, but you still find yourself with very few leads. Be it dragons or demons, the origins of the Eye of Horus still remain a mystery. You find yourself returning to the ballroom, and you spot Celeste in a corner with some other people. Is she with Aster and Steelwind? Hey Aster, what do you think of Steelwind's dress? It suits you very well, Miss Steelwind. You look lovely. See? What I did tell you! the Eye of Horus says differently about how she thinks of him. Gross. As you approach the group, you stopped by a knight from the King's Guard. He stares you down. What? Imperial Cranium. That's the incarnation for detect magic. The knight stares at you up and down. Celeste hasn't cast any spells on you lately, so he shouldn't be seeing any traces of magic. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert! What was that all about? My apologies. They were making sure... Very good, Miranda. Very good. Very good description. My apologies. They were making sure you weren't disguising yourself as an illusion. The King's Guards are charged with keeping us safe. They make sure every precaution to protect us. Oh, and who might you be? Don't speak so familiar with me, peasant. Alec, do not speak to him like that. Why shouldn't I speak to him as I please? I'm Prince Alec de Wyamgard the Sixth. I will not demote myself by showing courtesy to a commoner. You're chill, kid. You're 7. VTuber Studios? I did break it. There's only one way to try to fix the broken it. Have I tried turning it on and off again? Oh yes, because... Okay, camera, what are you doing? Oh, there's only one way I can try to fix this. Just gotta... Just gotta try turning it on and off again. God. I'm just breaking everything, aren't I? Camera. This is being a little more problematic than I expected. So, I'm just gonna leave it be. Doesn't he mean demean? Monitor! Stay on! Everything is breaking! I'm terribly sorry about him, Mr. Cuthbert. It's fine. I mean, I didn't expect to be treated nicely here at, here. Anyways, weren't you supposed to be investigating your birth parents? Leave the poor woman alone. She started it! Right. I was actually quite surprised to see you both here. What brings you to the Lord's Ball, Mr. Cuthbert? We were just accompanying Miss Dormia. Her client has business with Lord Frege. Her client? Yeah, she does not look happy. Beatrice? Beatrice suddenly storms through the ballroom. She almost walks right past Rue before she hears Alistair's voice. She looks furious. Did her discussion with Lord Frege go badly? Oh, that voice. Is that you, Aster? It really is you. She called him Master instead of Your Highness. Do they personally know each other? I think you should have realized what was going on. Literally, it was how Arya reacted. Also, we know this because this came up in the trial, which canonly takes place the next day, but this takes place. I'm glad to see you again. It's been quite some time. Is that really all he has to say? It appears you two have much to talk about. I'll be taking my leave. There's a bit of tension in the air. Celeste, we should probably get going too. Yeah. Wow, that was awkward. Yeah, I wonder how those two know each other. They were previously engaged 5 years ago. Okay, I kind of... I'm gonna try this one more time. Hey! I fixed it by just turning it on and off again. And all I had to do is unplug and replug my webcam. God, I really need to fix this thing. working with Motomia, but somehow Lord Frigga and the Crown knows Lord Frigga and the Crown Prince. Who is she? Oh, just the daughter who's not from... Well, you suppose it's none of your business. Anyways, how did your investigation go? I got nothing. Like, I think all I did was make a bunch of nobles mad. Sorry. I know you really wanted answers, but I'm sure something will come up. You think so? Yeah, we're pretending this a video. We're the two main characters of a video game. Of course I know. Might be a little irresponsible to give her up like this. What are you talking about? We're the two main characters of a video game. He. A noble abandoned her at a tavern in a rundown village. You thought something like that would make themselves someone like that would make themselves easy to find. Anyways, I don't want this night to be a total loss. Come on, dance with me. What? Really something don't be like that. How often do we get to go to parties like this? Before you have a chance to object, she grabs your hand and starts dragging you to the middle of the room. You receive a few dirty looks from the aristocrats nearby. So less people are staring at us. Who cares what they think? They're nobles. They're going to hate us no matter what we do. She takes hold of your other hand and begins to pull you into a waltz. I don't even know how to dance. I've never done this before. It's easy. Just stop being awkward about it. That's easy for her to say. Alright, just tell me what I need to do. Well, first, you need to be closer to me. With one swift motion, she pulls your body closer to hers. Watch my movements and try to follow my lead. You seem to know a lot about these things. I had to do a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. Do you know how many times I had to charm my merchant into hiring me? I see. You really don't know much about her, do you? You carefully watch the position of her feet and try to match her movements. After a while, you find yourself able to match her rhythm. But you still accidentally step onto her foot every few beats. She doesn't seem fazed by it. Either she's being polite or she genuinely doesn't feel anything. You're getting it, but don't focus so much on where your feet are. Just look at me. What? Come on, do it! You try to break eye contact with her, but every time you do, you finally... It is! It's adorable! But every time you do, you slowly find yourself being drawn back into her eyes. You feel so embarrassed that you're becoming lightheaded, and you find yourself perspiring more than usual. At the same time, you don't have any urge to break away from her. There's a comforting warmth behind all the anxiety you're feeling. Ah, there it is. The infamous Tyrion Cuthbert. Never turned away from a challenging noble, but can't dance a step to save his life. Look, he can go against any noble any day of the dance. He'll even beat them in chess. Take that, Lord Sanctus. But yeah, don't ask him to dance, apparently. Her expressions don't portray a hint of it, but you still detect feelings of nervousness from her. Is she just as flustered as you are? You find yourself relaxing a bit more, and somehow you are able to continue matching her movements. See? There you go. Although, what is it? You know the man is supposed to lead, right? Maybe I don't subscribe to gender stereotypes. Hey, there we go! We don't need gender stereotypes in here! Or maybe you just suck at this. It's been a while since you felt like this calm. There's always been something that you needed to prepare for. A client that needs saving, a culprit that needs catching. But you're quite content with this one brief moment that you're able to spend with her. You almost find yourself getting lost in the mood. Until you spot a familiar face beneath with the Legion of Knights. Hey, Commander White! No, don't tell me. The knights storm their way into where Beatrice and Asta are. Several of the attendees take notice. They all stop what they're doing and see what's going on. Beatrice Frigga? By the authority of the Wavegun card, you're under arrest. Did he just say Beatrice Frega? Damn it! It's just getting good. We should go see what's happening, shouldn't we? Yeah, let's go. You're completely out of line, Commander. I thought I told you to stand down. Do you not recognize who you're speaking to? Let go of Lady Frega. I can't really do that, Your Highness. Aster, what's going on? It's Lord Frega. He was found murdered in his study. Oh, I already knew this part. And these seatings think that Beatrice is behind it somehow. Well, she was last in the spit. Sorry, Your Highness, but my orders came straight from Steelwind. Oh, do I hear a hint of jealousy? Oh, I love making fun of it. Lady Steelwind sent you. Beatrice takes a deep breath and claps her hands together. I should go with them. What? No! My brother is right. They have no right to. I don't want to cause a friction between you and Arya. She's always been meticulous. I'm sure she's just being careful. I'm sure I'll be exonerated once they have thoroughly investigated what happened. Okay. Only that's what you truly want. What? You can't just let her take them away! Brother, she is correct. It's not our place to interfere with the laws of our kingdom. But, however, yes, Your Highness, Miss Beatrice is blind. One of your knights will need to escort her. She's what? Did he just say she's blind? Well, we already anyways, we're gonna need to take you to a holding cell, lady. One of you should go with her and guide her through. Please, I may be disabled, but I'm not a child. Beatrice walks past the knights and heads towards the foyer. It appears that she already knows the way out. I mean, she did grow up here, so. Shouldn't you all be following her? Right! Inquisition, move out! Because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition! You definitely didn't expect the night to go like this. What is going on here? Yes, I would like to save my progress. Oh, right. I can't believe they kept us here till noon. Lord's ball was already running well into the night, even before the murder occurred. You'd like nothing more than catch up on your lost sleep, but you made a promise to Aster. This doesn't make any sense. Beatrice was with me and my brother the entire night. Right, you were there when she met with him in Steelwind. She couldn't have stolen the sword of spell eating and have murdered her father. I don't understand. Of all the people that could have done this, why would Steelwind suspect a blind woman? Because clearly there's a hint of jealousy! Gosh, are people not listening to me? Mr. Cuthbert, could you defend Beatrice against these awful charges? I don't think I even need to. What? Beatrice is Ruby's client. I'm sure that she'll be the one defending her. Well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. No, it doesn't. What's wrong? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but could you still investigate the crime scene for me, Mr. Cuthbert? What? But we just said that Mr. Omria will. I know, and I don't doubt her abilities. But he's just such a big fan! He wants to investigate with us again! If you don't know, Aster is a very big fan of Tyrion. But Beatrice is a dear friend of mine. I would like every chance for her to be found innocent. He said that she was a dear friend. They must know each other since she's a Frega. Why would Miss Tomia, of all people, represent a member of a noble house? Alright, Tyrion doesn't know yet. There's still a lot of things you don't know about her. Of course, I'll also compensate you for your services. Consider yourself blessed. A commoner like you could only dream of a job like this. Not really. But who are you to understand, Alskek? You're 7. Thank you for the follow. I show speed online. Altic. The tiny prince has a point, though. A payment from the crown prince does sound tempting. I can't believe this. Celeste returns to the ballroom. She changed back into her normal clothes. What's wrong? The people in the courtroom said they couldn't find my sword! Oh no. Celeste's sword was the murder weapon, wasn't it? They told me that someone must have stolen it! What? Hold on. Are people gonna get Celeste's sword and the sword of spell eating mixed up? I have a feeling that's going to be the case. Aside from your group, everyone else at the ball was an aristocrat. You do recall her saying that it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Someone might have stolen it because of its rarity. We can probably keep an eye out for it while we're investigating the manor. This might be all just some kind of mistake. I hope so. She loves that sword. But anyways, where should we start first? We should head to the crime scene. I remember hearing that they found Lord Frega's body in his study. Let's go over there. Nope. You arrive at the crime scene and see an unusual swarm of Inquisition Knights. However, you also spot some members of the King's Guard. They must be working together since the victim is from one of the Pillar families. I was expecting to see you here, Mr. Cuthbert. I thought Ruby Tomio was defending this case. Prosecutor Sealwind approaches you as you enter the study. And she is followed by an unexpected yet familiar face. Wallace? What are you doing here? He's to my aid for this investigation. You don't doubt Wallace's ability, but you can't see of any reason why Sealwind would need his help. Wait, I thought she gets attacked. But you're supposed to, it's none of your business. Anyways, we're here on behalf of the Crown Prince Aster. He hired us to investigate this case independently. I see. Someone's jealous. I'm sure he just wants to make sure this investigation goes smoothly. Well, if you're on here on behalf of your highness, I'll do whatever I can to help you. This whole situation is quite unorthodox, but your goal remains the same. Perhaps the one can tell you more about what happened. What can you tell us about the murder? William Braco was found dead in the room after the lockdown was lifted. Wait, lockdown? What lockdown? Were we too busy trying to dance? Attempting to dance? From what we can tell, his throat has been sliced open with a letter opener. I honestly do believe that Celeste's sword is going to end up being the murder weapon. The cause of death was blood loss. Both his caudal arteries were severed. Here's the opposite report if you want a detailed description. Were you able to find the murder weapon? Yes, the murderer left it at the crime scene. It was a letter opener owned by the victim. The murderer must have found it in this room and used it. There was one strange detail about the weapon. The handle was completely shattered. We're not sure what to make of that detail, but as if someone crushed the handle using tremendous force. What could have caused the handle to shatter like that? You mentioned that there was a lockdown. When did this happen? You didn't notice? The Inquisition did try to be discreet, but everyone noticed the commotion Beatrice and the two princes made over it. I suppose you two must have been lost in your own little world, weren't you? Oh, so it must have been when we were attempting to dance. Oh. Well, anyways, you said that Lord Frega's body was found after the lockdown. That means something else must have happened prior. Supposedly, someone had broken into one of the Harrelson's exhibits. One of the magical artifacts was stolen. So there was also a thief that night. Well, we already knew there was a thief because the Celeste's sword is missing. Does the manor lockdown system behave like that in the one at the Imperial Academy, the systems are somewhat different. Unlike the Imperial Academy, the lockdown only prevents people from leaving or entering the manor. So not all of the rooms are locked. But what about the specific room? This room does have an outer wards that lock the door and prevent teleportation in and out of it. In addition to that, the system is placed in an anti-magic field over the manor. An anti-magic field? What is that? Anti-magic field is a spell that nullifies all magic within it. And the system somehow covers the entire manor in this effect. If you notice, there are several purple crystals embedded into the wall of the manor. Each of those crystals produce an anti-magic field during the lockdown. So no one could cast magic during the entirety of the lockdown? Not exactly. Someone could have used the stolen artifact to permit it. You mentioned that someone could have used the stolen artifact to get past the anti-magic fields. Which artifact was it? It was the Sword of Spell Eating. That was the demon-forged item that could supposedly nullify magic. If the legends were true, someone could have used it to counteract the lockdown system. After Lord Harrelson reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room of the manor to try to find it, but it was eventually found in Beatrice's bedroom. And that led them to believe that she had stolen it? That's correct. The Kingsguard moved to arrest her, but Prince Aster ordered them to step down. It didn't look like she was planning on fleeing, so they planned to wait until after the party had ended. But then they found Lord Ferga's body. Correct. We believe that she used the stolen sword to nullify the magical locks and break into the Lord Ferga's study. But if she had the sword, why wouldn't she use that to commit the murder? We're not entirely sure. We have a few working theories. She might have wanted to prevent the theft from being tied to the murder. Or perhaps she had more confidence wielding a knife over a sword. Regardless of her reasons, it's clear that the sword wasn't the murder weapon. She's not just being implicated for Lord Ferga's murder, she's also being charged with stealing the Sword of Spell Eating. What possible reason would she have to do either of those crimes? Since the body was found here, was Lord Ferga locked in this room during the lockdown? Yes, William Ferga knew this room should have been secured. He was supposedly in a bad mood, and had locked himself in this room for most of the night. He refused to let anyone into the room. The only person he spoke to after that was his daughter. His daughter? Are you talking about Miriam? No, Lord Ferga has another daughter. I'm referring to Lifa Frega, Lord Frega's middle child. She tried to tell her father about the theft, but he was apparently preoccupied with something else. He said that he wanted to stay in his study for the rest of the night. When did this happen? It was shortly before the lockdown was activated, a little after 1 a.m. I see. Lifa Frega must have been the last person to see Lord Ferga alive then. You should speak with her and get more details about Lord Ferga's actions that night. By the way, Steelwind, do you have a map of the manor? I do. Would you like a copy? Please and thank you. Oh, only 2 floors to this manor? Wow. Were any other witnesses aside from Lifa who saw Lord Ferga that night? Perhaps someone who heard what happened from a nearby room? There was someone who heard the altercation, but it was quite obscured. A servant was trapped in the storage room nearby. There's an air vent that connects this room with that storage room. He supposedly heard sounds of a struggle through that vent. What did this witness hear? There was sounds of a struggle before he heard Lord Ferga choke on his own blood. Then the lockdown was lifted. He informed the Kingsguard of what he heard. That's when they discovered the body. I see. Who was the servant? I believe you actually know him. His name is John Hughes. Hey! You got a promotion! Good job, buddy! Wait, Mr. Hughes is here? You never expect to see him again. Much less terrible places. If he's a servant, stepping up in life, baby! I mean, sure, from janitor to servant may not be much of a step, but it's a step up! But if he has had the altercation, you definitely want to speak with him. I think I'm liking a lot of information about the defendant. From the way you were both acting, you and Aster seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No, I try not to pry into her business. I see. I honestly don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frigga's eldest daughter and the former heir to the House Frigga. Former heir? About 5 years ago, she fled Frigga Manor and went into hiding. None of us knew where she'd gone. She ignored any attempts we made to contact her. She even used her magic to prevent us from scrying on her. Last night's ball was the first time in years that Aster and I have seen her. But if that's true, then how did Miss Tomrio meet her? Would you happen to know why Beatrice was meeting with her father after all these years? I have some ideas, but nothing concrete. I was hoping you could tell me. Tomrio and Beatrice both have both refused to disclose anything about their meeting. Damn it! What could that mean have been about? Speaking of which, I haven't seen Tomrio anywhere in the manor. As the defendant's attorney, I would have thought that she's been here to investigate the murder alongside you. That is strange. But Miss Tomrio has always had her own ways of doing things. Perhaps she's using a different strategy, aka letting us do the work. Anyways, I imagine she met with her father to request financial aid. Why do you say that? I have it on good authority that she was deeply in debt. That's the only reason why she would speak with her father after all these years. It's also why I believe she murdered her father. You think she murdered him for his inheritance? It's the only motive that makes sense. Alright, there's a lot to work through here. The prosecution will try to assert that Beatrice committed the murder. But what she had needed to do to carry out all the actions described. So the first thing we need to do is narrow down the time in which the murder occurred. The body was discovered after the lockdown was lifted, and Leafa Frigga saw her father before it was activated. He entered the study, and while he entered the study, and she watched as the lock engaged. Right, the murder must have occurred during the lockdown. But that means the murderer somehow got past the objection words that protected this room. Those wards blocked teleportation, and they magically locked the only door leading to this room. Steelwind and the Inquisition believes that Beatrice used a sort of spell eating to get past them. Regardless of what they think, we need to assume that the murderer used some kind of magic nullification to get into William's study. But that's not necessarily true, is it? What if the murderer entered the room before William locked it? They were in the room when William locked it, so they would have been trapped here until he decided to leave. Not only that, they would have been discovered the moment the guards entered his study. Maybe they used some kind of invisibility. Or they could have teleported the moment the King's Guard unlocked the door. Teleportation didn't occur. We didn't find any traces of conjuration magic. What about Celeste's theory of an invisible assailant? I'll admit that we did find traces of illusion magic. But the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding in this room. Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that? Of course, it's standard protocol. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it casts on. So mages can use Detect Magic in a way to see through invisibility. So we know for sure that they weren't here before or after the lockdown. This means that whoever committed the murder used some way to bypass the objective words to protect this room. The next thing is to consider the murder weapon. Where did the murder weapon come from? It was a letter opener that was presumably owned by William Frigga. The murderer probably used it to avoid leaving evidence that incriminated them. Right. The letter opener came from this room. The murderer probably wanted to avoid using a weapon that would implicate them. So they decided to use it and leave it here after the deed was done. But that leaves one glaring hole in the prosecution's case. And what would that be, Mr. Cuthbert? Beatrice Vega is completely blind. Even if she was somehow able to break into a highly guarded exhibit, how did she slip past the guards and enter the Lord Frega's study? Furthermore, how did she locate the letter opener if she couldn't see it in the first place? None of it makes sense. Committing this murder unseen would have been a tall order for anyone. I can hardly believe a blind person did all of this. You do well not to underestimate her, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You don't know her as well as I did. She's far more capable than you realize. I suppose I wouldn't know. The idea that Beatrice did any of this is ludicrous. I suppose I can't change your mind about that. But I have to ask you a question, Mr. Cuthbert. What would you do if you discovered that one of your clients was guilty? Oh. What? I mean, I tend to have an insight into these sort of things. That would never happen. I already seen your uncanny ability to read people. But I'm only hypothetically speaking. So, what would you do if they were guilty? I suppose I would distraught and tell them to find another lawyer. And if no one else would represent them? I don't know. It would definitely be a hard choice for me. But I would never be able to represent them if I knew the truth. I just can't stand by and let a murderer escape justice. I see. Why do you ask? No reason. Okay. Anyways, she made her stance clear. You still have a lot of leads to follow up on. It's not like we're actually taking this case. You should move somewhere else. Ah! What's wrong? You can't see it, but this entire room is covered in traces of abstract magic. Everything's glowing white. Right. That makes sense. There were several anti-magic fields covering the manor. Those fields probably left traces of alteration everywhere. I won't bother showing you the traces of alteration we find while we're here.
Repario Arcanum.
There's a trace of illusion magic here where the body was. The assailant must have used some kind of magical disguise. Or they turned themselves invisible. There's a pool of blood and a chalk outline where the body must have been. It's a fireplace. Could the murderer have entered through here? That wouldn't be possible. The chimney is far too narrow. Even a small child wouldn't be thin enough to fit through it. There's a large mahogany. I don't know why I do that every time. Every time I see mahogany, I'm just like, mahogany. Table at the end of the room. Lord Frega must have done his work here. The bookshelf is filled with books. I wonder what kind of books Lord Frega owned. Wait a minute. They're all blank! Ah, so that doesn't make him look more intelligent. All of his real books are on the floor. All of his real books are on the floor or his desk. A painting of some sort of scholar. There's some text on it. Rook a star, an average scholar, an aristocrat and accountant. He was known in circles as the Rook of the Cook. The Rook is the cook, due to its ability to cook the books of the four pillar houses. Rook the Cook. Sometimes I wish I could have a nickname like that. What about Crimson Demon? Ugh, not that one. Wait, no. To the storage room! You entered the storage room, hoping to investigate the air vent that connects to Lord Frega's study, when you came across the person laying on the floor. What? Jan! Is that you? Aw, oh, man, what's with all the noise? I was having such a good nap, too. Mr. Hughes? Whoa, it's you two. Why are you taking a nap in the storage room? I need to take a break from all the chaos that's going on. The King's Guard won't let us. Leave until they finish investigating the murder. This prompted Noble shooed me away when I was trying sleeping on one of the couches. Okay, so he's still a custodian. He did not actually step up. Okay. Didn't expect to find anyone in here. Anyways, the prosecution told that you heard the murder from here during the lockdown. Do you think you could tell us what happened? Sure, why not? But that's kind of rude anyways. I actually kind of get him tired when I speak like him. First things first, let's examine the room. It's a step ladder. I agree. Really taking that one there. It's just, sorry, as a huge Ace Attorney fan, it's my knowledge to see stepladder. Click on stepladder. There's several boxes in this room. They appear to convey the various cleaning surprises. It's an air vent that leads into Lord Frega's study. Supposedly, Jan heard the altercation between Lord Frega and his sailors through the...
Arcanum.
Alright, no magic. Alright, let's talk to him. So you're working as a servant now? Not exactly, but it was part of the catering staff. The twins started their own food business after Fregas threw us out of the academy. So he has to step up. Right. Sorry about that. No, it's not your fault. Even if Redman still was headmaster, I'm sure the board would find some other way to get rid of us. Wait. Are Valentina and Valerie here too? No, they just contracted some staff to Lord Frega's house for the Lord's Ball. I think a bunch of the other businesses did the same thing. I wonder how they feel about this. They lent their services to a man who got them fired in the first place. William must have offered them a lot of gold. Man, I can't believe I got myself pulled into another murder investigation. Where's that look, everyone? The prosecution told us that you heard the altercations of the air vents. Could you tell us exactly what you heard? Well, I didn't hear everything. I was taking a nap in the third when it happened. Why are you napping here? I didn't have a choice. I accidentally closed the door when the thinking cage. Before I knew it, I was trapped here. Right. You recall Steelwing when she mentioned that. Anyways, I heard the sound of some kind of struggle going on. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Lord Frega shout, "Who are you? Who do you want?" This went on for a few seconds, and I heard the sound of someone getting stabbed. Did you hear the voices of the assailants? They didn't say anything, but I did hear them. Their voice was really raspy. I think they have a sword or something. Or they were trying to mask their voice. Why did you enter the storage room anyways? The servants were complaining about the rats running through the air vents, so they sent me to take care of it. I got stairways, and I followed it here. I figured it had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up and put a trap down. After I was done, I tried to leave, but the door was locked. I didn't have anything else to do, so I took a nap. You only heard a few words. He only heard a few words before the murderer struck the final blow. Doesn't give you much to go on, but his testimony could be relevant later. For now, you should probably move somewhere else and gather more information. Come on, Tracker, where are you? As you enter Beatrice's room, you're unexpectedly met with a large cloud of dust. Wow, this place has not been cleaned. Oh! Your vision clears up and you realize that there's someone else in the room with you. Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. No, there's no need to apologize. But I would like to know what you're doing here. We're here on behalf of the Crown Prince. We're investigating the murder of William Frega. Oh, I see. My apologies. I didn't quite get your name. My name is Lifa Frega. This is Lifa. According to Steelwind, she was the last person to see Lord Frega alive yesterday. She might have some information about how he was acting that night. It's a table for guests, but it's extremely dusty. It's a dresser covered in a layer of dust. It doesn't look like it's been touched in years. It's a highly extravagant bed. It looks similar to the one in Miriam's dorm.
Prepario Arcanum.
This is trace of transmutation magic under the bed. I can't see it clearly. Let me take a closer look. It's Crimson Lotus! What? It's my sword! What? You never knew her sword had a name. This is where it's been. Why would it be here? This is also the room where they found the sword of the spell eating. Are the two thefts related somehow? But why? The only thing similar about them is that they are both swords. There's definitely more to this, but what? I'm sorry for your loss, Lady Frigga, but do you mind if I ask some questions about last night? Of course. Prosecutor Stillwing, that you told us that you were the last person to see him alive. Did you notice anything unusual about your father's behavior? Well, he was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during their meeting. The servant said that he wanted to be left alone. He retreated into his study immediately after their meeting. I tried to speak with him when the theft was reported, but he didn't care much about the missing artifact. He told me to leave him alone and let the Kingsguard investigate the sword. He was probably busy making the changes to his will. Now that's an interesting thought. When did you speak with him last? It was before they activated the lockdown, a little after 1 a.m. that night. And do you have any idea what he was doing in his study? What? No, I have no idea. You detect some fear in her. Lady Frigga, is there something you're not telling us? It's important that we know about your father's actions before his death. I'm sorry, I don't know anything else. It was my father was a private man and didn't share much about anything, not even his own family. I wish I could be more of help, but I really don't know anything else. I refuse to believe that's why he was killed. She clearly is holding something back. If you can reveal what she's hiding through an argument, she might be even more willing to cooperate. But you need more information about William and him and his will first. In the meantime, you should figure out what else she knows. I noticed that this room hasn't been cleaned recently. Do you know why? It's because I forbid the servants from cleaning this room. And why would that be? Beatrice was very dear to me, and I couldn't bear to have her room disturbed after she left. This room was the only memory I have of her after she left. I suppose that makes sense. She must have been holding on to hope that her sister would return. And what about the sword of the spell eating? Do you know how it ended up in this room? I'm not sure. It's possible someone planted it here to frame Beatrice. I can't say why would they choose this room though. What kind of person was your father? Wow, that's a lot of negative emotions. That doesn't look like William Frigga was very beloved. No, really? My father was a complicated man. He was a brilliant scholar and businessman, but he was a cold and distant father. I see. Did he have any enemies? As the head of the House Frigga, he controlled nearly every banking house in the Ravengard. There were many people who represented his wealth and power. Can you remember anyone specific? Perhaps someone that he slighted recently? There was Lord Van Sanctus. The ruling lord of Ornux? Yes. I heard that he was recently involved in a court case. My father had been using the controversy as an opportunity to slowly take control of Van Sanctus Industries. And from what I heard, he's been extremely bitter about that. Van Sanctus' reputation must have taken a hit after the Draken's trials. He thought he'll get himself involved in another murder. But you can never be too sure. You want to speak with him and get more details. Although, it Would he even consider cooperating with you? Anyways, are there any other enemies he might have? No, not that I can think of. What can you tell me about Beatrice Frege? I heard that she fled the Frege estate 5 years ago. Before she left, Beatrice was one of the most powerful mages I've ever seen. She was incredible. At the age of 13, her talent for magic had even eclipsed my father's. But it was never enough for him. What do you mean? Before my mother died, he desperately wanted a son, but he only ever had daughters. Everyone thought that Beatrice would inherit House Frege from my father, but our family knew the truth. William Frege would never leave his legacy in the hands of a woman. Ah! So he's a woman pusher! Well, was a woman pusher. What? No matter how hard Beatrice tried, my father would never acknowledge her accomplishments. He was extremely cruel to her. He constantly belittled her achievements and dismissed everything she said to him. After the incident, he used her disability as an excuse to take away the little influence she had. There was an accident that gave her a disability? Is that why she's blind? If it's not too painful for you, could you tell me more about Beatrice's accident? Is this even relevant to the investigation? Any small detail can make a difference. I need to learn everything I can. I'm not sure about what exactly happened, but it was a magical experiment gone wrong. Beatrice was working on a project at the Imperial Academy. She was trying to create a new spell formula. We're still not sure what happened, but there was a vice magical reaction. The resulting explosion seriously injured her and left her completely blind. I can't imagine how much she must have taken that. Actually, she was probably most unfazed by what happened. But that didn't matter. My father saw his opportunity. He told me that he was reliving her of her duties so that she could recover. And I knew the truth. He was going to take away her political power and social standing. She was reduced to a mere decoration for our home. And that must have been why she left. Did she contact you during the time she was missing? No, no one ever heard of her during that time. But as much as I worry for her, I was also a little happy. Unlike Miriam and I, she finally broken free from my father. I had no idea what could have caused her to return here. You think you learned everything you can for now. Perhaps you should move elsewhere. You explore the manor furthermore and find one of its many sitting rooms. And there you happen to spot a very familiar face. Beat you in court, beating you in chess. What else does this man want to try to beat me at? He's sipping on a glass of wine. An expression turns disdainful the moment you enter the room. Oh, wonderful. If my day couldn't have gotten any worse. Mon Sanctus, what are you doing here? The head of the noble house has just been murdered, and I can't very well return to Ornox when my affairs are in such a disarray. Anyways, forget what I'm doing here. What are you doing here? Investigating a crime scene, and I was hired by the Crown Prince because he's like my biggest fan. Oh, I just happened to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite. Oh, I just wanted to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite noblemen. I heard that you've been keeping busy since we last met. It must be difficult losing your empire to House Frege. He just gets real angry with us real quick. Tyrion, we do need his help. Is that so? And what makes you think I'd ever help the likes of you? Because it would take suspicion off you, and let's face it, with your reputation, you can use all the help you can get. How dare you! I'll leave you know that I'm a still respected member of the nobility. Respected? Is that why everyone's talking about your hand in Justin Way's death? Because the way I see it, being involved in another scandal would destroy what little remains of your reputation. But it makes no difference to me, and to be perfectly honest, I would like nothing more than to drag you into the stand and embarrass you a second time. Oh wait, it'd be a third time! Because the first time was when we beat your ass in chess. You can practically hear him grinding his teeth together. Very well. If it means I won't test into your presence any longer, I'll oblige and answer your questions. First, I'm gonna examine the room. It's a painting of some adventurers in a tavern. This must be Beatrice de Verga the First. The First? According to the legend, she was one of the descendants of the 7 heroes of Wyvengard. She joined the band of adventurers that were traveling across the nation. It's hard to imagine the Vergas can come from such humble beginnings. Wait, what? What is it now? That masculine man in the corner. He just vanished. What are you on about? There was never a man there. Sorry, Tyrion, but he's right. No, I'm sure he was there! Are you feeling okay? Perhaps your lack of sleep is making you see things that aren't there. We're hallucinating! Hooray! There's a shelf filled with books. Fake books. They're completely blank. Where are the real books in this room? The chair made of mahogany. Mahogany. Every part of this house just exudes wealth, because apparently mahogany is wealth. Also, it's been simping out by the common folk. The door that leads to the courtroom. As if every room in this house needs a chandelier. What's a waste of kingdom's gold? Mahogany. I love saying mahogany.
Arcanum.
Yeah, just had to check if there's any magic. Alright, let's talk to this asshole. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. I mean, I am the protagonist of a lawyer game. What did you expect? Mess. Wouldn't you have much to gain from William Fergus' death? On a surface level, you might be right, but it's far more complicated than that. House Frege controls the banking houses. They're the main pillars of support for Wyvengard's economy. William's death could have been unimaginable economic consequences regardless of who inherits his house. I wouldn't be foolish enough to do something like that. That remains to be seen. Think what you will. There are others who see benefits from William Fergus' death. You mentioned that other people would benefit from Fergus' death. Who specifically? If I had to venture a guess, I would say Lucius Steelwind benefits the most. Do you mean the prosecutor's father? But you just said that Lord Fergus' death would have been unimaginable consequences for the economy. Ha! You think that Brute cares about Wyvengard's economy? No, all that man cares about is power. Pure and physical power. House Steelwind and House Frege have been fighting for control of Wyvengard for generations. In this long everlasting era of peace, the Steelwind's military has become far less valuable to the crown. If it wasn't for Lady Steelwind's engagement to the crown prince, they might have not even be considered a pillar family anymore. The death of William Fergus is probably exactly what Lucio Steelwind has been waiting for. In our economy, whereas to suffer, it would cause a civil unrest. In a scenario like that, the crown would have to rely on Steelwind's forces to maintain order. It does make sense, but could Arya's father really be involved with this? It's clear that you think Lucio Steelwind would have much gain from this, but can you think of anyone else? Well, there is Harold Harrelson. Why would he steal his own stuff? That can't be his real name. But what would Mr. Harrelson possibly gain? I'm sorry, Harold. He would. From what I heard, William is planning to defund Harrelson Hall of History. Really? Why would he do that? I'm not sure of the specifics, but supposedly Lord Harrelson refused to omit the less flattering parts of Wyvengard's histories from his exhibits. It's gotten blatant enough that he's drawn the heir to the king himself. They actually got in a very heated argument during the Lord's Ball about it. I heard that William declared that he would be removing House Harrelson from his estate. You don't want to suspect Mr. Harrison But you need to examine every possibility. As a curator, he would have the easiest access to this sort of spell eating, and he could have staged a robbery to cover his tracks. At very least, he should give Mr. Harrelson a chance to explain himself. What can you tell me about the defendant in this case? What? She's your client. Surely you know better than I. She's not my client! I'm not even defending anybody in this case! I am just investigating for the sake of the Crown Prince! Thank you. Humor me. Well, I'm sure you're aware she fled the Fregus estate 5 years ago. In doing so, she dealt a blow to House Frega's reputation and directly insulted the Crown Prince by breaking her engagement to him. Wait, Beatrice was engaged to Aster? Yes, it was quite the scandal at the time. And Lucio wasted no time pushing his daughter into taking Beatrice's place. Oh, is that why those three were so awkward last night? Yeah, it was basically screaming in all their emotions. Honestly, the situation is just an absolute mess. That woman's return would complicate things. Beatrice's return complicates things. What does he mean by that? Do you find Beatrice's return to be an inconvenience for you? What are you on about now? Please, don't insult my intelligence, Von Sanctus. I'll drag you into the courtroom myself. Again. Fine. If you must know, my son was arranged to marry William's daughter, Lifa. Lifa? Since Beatrice Jones no return, it would be apparent that Lifa would inherit House Frega instead of her. I know my days were numbered, so I took preemptive action. William wanted the male heir, and I needed to preserve my house, so we both came into accord. My son and Lifa were to arrange to be wed. House Sanctus would have been absorbed, but at least my Jaden would stand at the helm of House Frega. You nobles are absolutely awful. I should probably consider myself lucky. Think what you will, but I won't expect a commoner to understand. That's the problem with your generation. You have no sense of duty or obligation. Lifa has already expressed the resistance to this marriage, even though she was well aware of the details. Now I worry she'll be hiding behind her sister to end the engagement altogether. Lifa never mentioned any of this. As much as you hate to think it, William's death would get her out of this enraged marriage. You should talk to her about this. Anyways, Von Sanctus gave you a decent list of suspects. You probably learned everything you can from him from now. Be honest, move on, follow up on these leads. You return to the gallery and see a legion of knights expecting the crime scene. However, you don't see Mr. Harrelson anywhere. The Inquisition must be questioning him. Perhaps you should follow another lead while you wait for him to return. Do we have to start shoving evidence in people's faces?
Arcanum.
Wait, what? There are traces of evocation magic on the shattered glass. Evocation is the magic that creates and unleashes raw energy. It's the most primal of the 7 schools of magic. Someone must have used a powerful spell to blast that display case apart. The display case that held the armbands of intellect decepted me. The display case is completely shattered. The thief was able to do this despite being there several observed spells protecting it. The display case hearing the earrings available to me is completely untouched. Whoever stole the artifact ignored it.
Prepario Arcanum.
Some sort of scientist, supposedly his name is Dr. Lukefe. He's an alchemist. Sounds like a bunch of people had a reason to murder Lord Frege. Yeah, and we still don't have any evidence that incriminates any of them. But this theory has to lead somewhere. You just need to follow your lead and use your intuition. Alright, let's start showing evidence on people's face. What can you tell me about this deal, one? I'm sorry, but I'm not the person to ask about that. Why would Harold keep such a dangerous weapon on display? There's value in remembering honoring the kingdom's history, especially the unsavory parts. Anyways, these exhibits were heavily protected. Only a powerful mage like Beatrice would have broken into them. So even Steel One considers Beatrice to be a powerful mage. I still fail to understand how you think Beatrice broke into Harrelson's security exhibit. Despite being blind, she was extremely powerful and learned mage. Her abilities even surpassed her father's. It's really a shame that this is how it all turned out. If it's not too much trouble, do you know how Beatrice became blind? I'm sorry, but I'm not going to discuss that. It's just dig up old wounds. Right, of course. She does know what happens. So we know too. What can you tell me? He was a shrevious pig. Wow, that's pretty blunt. My family has been at odds with the Fregas for as long as we can remember. My father is probably salivating at the thought at how Frega is losing its head. What can you tell me about this? The crime scene was a locked room with no message of entry, but Lord Frega still died. That means the murderer used something to nullify the lockdown in some way. But they really used the cellar of spill eating to do so? I think I'm lacking a lot of information about Beatrice Frege. From the way you were both acting, you and Esther seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No, I try not to pry into her business. I see. Honestly, I don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frege's oldest daughter and the former heir to the House Frege. Former heir? And the crime scene was locked with no one. What can... I think I have an idea what to do. What can... My apologies. I don't think I'll be much of help with that. Well, this is the last thing I have to do is shove the evidence on people's face. I'm sure Beatrice's return must have been surprising for you. It is. To be honest, I've been hoping for years that she'd finally return. But now that she has, she's just gotten pulled into another one of our family's messes. didn't mean to move elsewhere. Sorry, Celeste. We'll talk later. That man. He was my father, but I can't say I have fond memories of him. He must have been a difficult to deal with then. You have no idea. He was cruel, Tyrion, tyrannical, and only ever cared about his own legacy. He was willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to maintain his power status, including his own daughters. Sounds like his treatments of Beatrice were particularly harsh. It was! He never saw her as a worthy successor to our family's legacy, simply because she was a woman! Even after her accident, he used her disability as an excuse to strip her of any power she had left. I can only imagine how difficult that must have been for all of you. It's been so a constant struggle, but we managed to survive. As bad as it sounds, now that he's gone, we might have a chance to rebuild our family. Oh no, I didn't mean to start the argument with her. Is there something you're not telling us, Leva? Because I have a feeling you know more than you're letting on. What? What was your father doing in this study? I already told you, I don't know. My father was a private man. He wouldn't share something like that with me. Oh. He was making some sort of a change to his will, wasn't he? But what? Did someone else tell him? Why did you find the need to hide this from us? I didn't! The thoughts you saw earlier seems to disagree with that. We're only just met today, so I understand if you don't trust us. But the Inquisition thinks that Beatrice murdered your father, and they claim that she was doing so for his inheritance. That's absolutely absurd! Regardless, your father's inheritance is more a likely motive behind his murder. Many people would have a lot to gain from his death, including you. Excuse me? didn't think I'd be capable of something like this. That's for sure. Oh. I didn't mean to imply that you were involved in this, but it's clear that the murderer's motive was to take control of House Frega. This means that their plan was heavily relied on who William Frega was leaving his assets to. So I need to know, Miss Frega, how is your father planning to change his will? I don't know. I already told you, my father was a secretive man. He didn't share the details of his estate with me. I was never aware of the details of my father's will. Try again. I was never aware of the details of it. My father was a secret man. He didn't share the details of his estate with me. I was sure. Not really true, though. What? I already know about your engaged marriage to Jaden Von Sanctus. And I also know that a part of this deal, Jaden would inherit House Frega instead of you. You definitely knew about this, and you were heavily resistant to the marriage in an attempt to stall it. Which means that you had some idea how your father's will was arranged. So what aren't you telling me, Miss Frega? I can't trust you. What? You're here on behalf of the Crown Prince Aster. The four pillar families and the Crown must have much to gain from my father's death. How can you assure me that this information won't be used against my family? That's why she's been so secretive. There's nothing I could possibly say to make you trust me. But please understand, I'm only trying to find out who murdered your father. And to do that, I need to know everything he was doing that night. I have no reason to trust you, but somehow I can tell that you're being sincere. Will you really protect Beatrice? You're about to reassure you, but something in the back of your mind stops you. I'll get to the truth of what really happened. Okay, if that's truly what you're planning to do, I'll tell you what I know. I wasn't trying to be uncooperative, but I didn't know who I could trust. Considering the circumstances, that's perfectly understandable. I'm not sure why, but my father was extremely upset that night. According to him, Beatrice had returned and was more imprudent than before. He must have been angry about something she said during the meeting. Did he tell you what the meeting was about? he didn't, and I honestly didn't really care. I was just happy that my sister had finally returned. My father clearly felt the opposite. Before he entered his study, he told me that he'd be pruning the family tree. He was going to disinherit to my father, my sister, and several other members of our family. He probably started drafting a new will to reflect that decision. Has anyone else found the draft of this will? No, it was one of the first things I looked for after the investigation began. The modified will is missing. He thought that it will ever be enforced. He never got a chance to submit it for a probate before he died. But you can't discount the possibility of the murderer destroyed it. Did anyone else know about this? No one. I didn't even tell Lady Steelwind when she was questioning me, because it would have given Beatrice a motive to commit the murder. Anyways, thank you, Miss Rega. Mr. Cuthbert? Yes? My sister is not a bad person. There's no way she would do something like this. Despite what she says, she seems to have some doubts. She's in good hands. Ruby Tomi is the one defending her in the trial, after all. I hope so. Anyways, you think that you learned everything you can from Leaf. There's only one last person to speak with. Harold Harrelson. This is a complete mess. As you enter the gallery, you spot Harrelson inspecting the shattered remnants of the display case. If you recall correctly, this display that he's looking for once held the sword of spell eating. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert! I had a feeling I'd be seeing you again. He's working for the Crown Prince. Can he be trusted? It seems like word has spread about your deal with Aster. Hello again, Mr. Harrelson. Harold. Sorry. Harold Harrelson, the son of Harrelson Jr. The son of Harrelson Harold Harrelson Jr., blessed son, who shall be named Harold Harrelson the third, and his name shall be passed on to his son. Did I scroll up just to read that again? Yes. Right. Harold, I'm sure you already know that I'm investigating the murder of William Frege, and the prosecution suspects someone used the sword of spell eating to break into the Lord Frege's room. I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the stuff last night. I'll tell you what I can, but I'm not sure how much help I'll be. I can't believe a museum owns such a powerful magic item. I would have expected a noble houses to take them from themselves. Well, the nobility of today don't have much use for the items of these. The power of the Lord is based on the politics rather than the magical strengths. And a noble wouldn't want to wield the sword of a demon, even if the legends are just stories. A demon? Oh, right. The sword of spell eating is said to have been forged from a pact between a demon and mage. Isn't making a pact with a demon just asking for trouble? They'd definitely betray you in the first chance they got. But legends say that demons often drafted blood contracts for this reason. Wait, do you mean like legally binding contracts? Legally binding contract? The concept is similar, but once you sign a blood contract, both you and the demon are magically compelled to fulfill its terms. It's said that violating the terms will result in instant death for the offender, no matter who it is. So I guess there's some protection. Well, as an attorney, I'm sure you understand it's possible to exploit and use the loopholes in any contract. And according to the legends, the demons take great pride in their ability to deceive and corrupt people. According to the prosecution, the thieves took place during the Lord's Ball. Shouldn't there have been plenty of witnesses at the gallery at the time? That's the strangest thing. Supposedly the gallery room was completely empty when it happened. What? That can't be right. And honestly, I have no idea how anyone could have produced enough magic to shatter the display case anyways. Were the wards protecting the case that powerful? They were powerful, but it's not the issue here. It would be one thing to dispel the wards and remove the glass protecting it. It's another thing to entirely, completely annihilate the objection wards and shatter the glass. Doing something like that would require an extremely powerful spell, far more powerful than that would have been needed. So you're saying that the force was a peeled was excessive. Yes, and that's not the worst of it. It's clear that the sword of spell eating wasn't the only item stolen. What? Another artifact was stolen that night? You mentioned that another item was stolen. Yes, it was extremely concerning. After the sword of spell eating was reported missing, I checked the other exhibits. And that's when I discovered that the armband of intellect was stolen as well. Why not just take the whole set? And unlike the sword of spell eating, we still haven't found the armbands. You look at the glass where the armbands used to be. They've been removed, but the glass case is completely intact. It didn't shatter the glass. Exactly. Moreover, the armbands are actually replaced by a very well-made replica. What? What's going on here? The two thefts are completely different from one another. Are they even related, or did two different thieves additionally steal from Harold that night? Well, there's technically 3 thefts last night. Oh! You mentioned that someone would have needed a powerful spell to shatter the display case. Wouldn't that narrow down the list of suspects for the theft? Not everyone attending the ball could cast spells that powerful. Well, according to the Inquisition, Beatrice Frega's magic was powerful enough to done this. Just counting the fact that she's completely blind. Yes, I'm well aware of that, and it doesn't still quite sit with me either. Was there anyone else at the Lord's Ball capable of matching Beatrice's power? Only the heads of the 4 powers can invoke the magic this powerful. But apparently Beatrice is an exception to that. Is Beatrice really that powerful? Or is she being a scapegoat by one of the house's leaders? The case can be opened normally, can't they? Otherwise, how would you transport the artifacts from place to place? Ah, yes, the magical locks on the cases can be disabled. You detect some fear. Is he hiding something? How are they normally disabled? They can be turned on and off using a spoken password. And how many people know this password? Only myself. I personally oversee all the transports of these items when they're moved. The Herald could have stolen the sword that night. Could he have staged the robbery to cover his tracks? Harold, a witness told us that you got in an argument with William Frege the night of the murder. Was William Frege planning to defund the Harrelson Hall of History? Oh, yeah. Yes, he was. He made that very clear. But that doesn't mean I had anything to do with this murder. We're not saying you did it, but I need to explore every possibility. So I need to ask, did your argument that night turn hostile? I'll admit that our discussion turned heated, but it never escalated to threats or violence. It was how insulting he was. It shouldn't have. William was being unreasonable, and I was frustrated, but that's all it was to it. He deserved what happened to him. Oh. Yeah, it shows more resentment than he's letting on. Do you have any conflicts with him prior to that night? We had disagreements in the past, but he was receiving pressure from the royal family about what I was displaying in my museum. The king believed that some exhibits were too controversial for the public eye. What do you mean? I'm sure you noticed the rising tension between common folks and the nobility. I've never been one to shy away from the bloodier parts of Vanguard's history. The citizens must know about these parts of history, otherwise we're liable to repeat them. However, the king believes that my historical exhibits do nothing but dig up old wounds. Nothing but simpletons. This nobility thinks they can smooth the public relations by censoring history, as if it can't get any worse. Anyways, this is clear what Harold's passionate about his work. Would that passion drive him far enough to commit murder, though? Thank you for your time, Harold. I think we'll be on our way now. We have a lot of info, but none of it really leads anywhere. So many people have had a motive to murder William Frege, but who actually did it? Perhaps you should take some time to review everything that you've learned. Motives aside, let's go over the events that happened that night. It all started when the sword of spell eating was stolen. We don't have a specific suspect, but we do know something about them. It would be one thing to spell the wards and remove the glass protecting it, but it's another thing to completely annihilate the abstraction wards and shatter the glass. doing something like that would require an extremely powerful spell, far more powerful than one that had been needed. The Sifa was a powerful mage. That's the only way they could have shattered the magically reinforced glass. But what about Harold? He could have just unlocked it using his password. He would have stolen the sword and staged a robbery, but he couldn't have shattered the glass. Only a powerful mage could have done that. And I doubt Harold would lie about that when we easily confirmed it with Steelwind. Right, but what happened next? They brazenly stole the sword, a spell eating, and this caused Harold to report the theft to the Kingsguard. After Lord Harrison reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room in the manor trying to find it. But it was eventually found in Beatrice's bedroom. And that led them to believe that she had stolen it. That's correct. The Kingsguard had moved to arrest her, but Prince Alistair ordered them to step down. And then there's the Lifa statement. My father was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during their meeting. The servant said he wanted to be left alone. He retreated to his study immediately after their meeting. I tried to speak with him when the staff was reporting, but he didn't care much about the missing artifact. This happened before they activated the lockdown. It was a little after 1 a.m. that night. William Fergus was murdered after the lockdown was activated. This means that whoever killed him bypassed the lockdown and broke into the magically locked room. They had to use the sword, right? That's likely, but not necessarily true. An anti-magic field would have also had the same effect. The murderer could have stolen the sword of spell eating and throw off the investigation. But an anti-magic field is a high-level spell. Not many mages would be able to cast it. And I doubt any of the nobles here would let us see their spell condominiums. Because of how powerful anti-magic fields are, we can still conclude that the murderer is a powerful mage. This actually narrows down our list of suspects. It's still not concrete evidence, though. And we haven't even spoken to all the suspects yet. Right, you never got a chance to speak with Lucio Steelwind. Given his status, you wonder if that would even be possible. Either way, it's a good start. It's not as if we're defending this case. The trial's getting close anyways. You don't doubt Miss Tomia's abilities, but you should share what you learned with her before the trial begins. It's a little strange that you haven't seen her since the investigation began. She might be meeting with Beatrice at the dungeon. You arrive at the dungeon and search for Miss Tomia. She wasn't at the crime scene, so she must be here to discuss the case of Beatrice. Or at least that's what you thought, but you don't see her anywhere. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert? Oh, hi! You were caught up in your thoughts. You didn't even notice that you were walking right in front of Beatrice's cell. I didn't expect to see you here. Ah! Celeste lets out a shriek as Arya approaches to behind you. For a split second, you see her hand dart towards her sword. It appears that she still hasn't gotten over her initial fears about Eris. Eris, what are you doing here? Ah, Beatrice is actually an acquaintance of my father's. He sent me here to help her through her ordeal. That brings up many questions, but you don't really have time to pull on that thread. You have less than an hour before the trial begins, and you need to find Miss Tomia. Have you ever seen Miss Tomia? I have some things I would like to share with her. Ah, she was just here, but she left to retrieve some documents from her office. Do you have any idea when she'll be back? She didn't say, but if your discussion has something to do with this case, could I pass a message on to her? You feel a little hesitant for some reason, but it is her life on the line. If anyone should know about what you found during your investigation, it's her. Okay, let me tell you what you know. You spent some time going through over your findings with Beatrice. From your list of suspects to the possible motives behind the murder. You notice that each relationship becomes more and more uneasy. The idea of something framing her must be stressing her out. I see. You certainly have been very thorough. Yes, but I still have no concrete evidence that points to anyone. We're underestimating him. If he reveals these findings for the answer, he might suspect something. What? Sorry, I was just deep in thought. And you were able to catch one of those thoughts. Beatrice, I'm sure that Prince Aster has your best interest at heart. I know, even though we haven't spoken for the last 5 years, I still consider him a dear friend. Then I suppose you have no issues with me sharing these findings with him. Of course not. This is bad. Even he wouldn't support us if he knew I was involved. Wait, what was that? Her thoughts just said that she was involved. Did she actually murder her father? Is something wrong, Mr. Cuthbert? You look pale. Beatrice is actually behind this? But how? She's completely blind. She couldn't have navigated through the minor and avoided the guards. No, you must take her thoughts out of the context. That's it. Mr. Cuthbert, perhaps you should get some rest. You look dreadfully tired. How did you know you're blind? You think very carefully about what to say next. There's one way to get a certain answer through the eye, but you're wrong. If you're wrong, Beatrice, you weren't actually involved in this, were you? Tyrion? You see her gaze narrow in response to your question. Once again, she claps her hands together. She's clearly trying to stay calm. Do you suspect me now, Mr. Cuthbert? You didn't answer my question, Beatrice. As if I need to justify it. As if I even need to justify it with a response. But no, Mr. Cuthbert. I was not responsible for my father's murder. At least not directly. I was technically an accomplice. An accomplice? Did she work together with someone? Cuthbert! Miss Tomia! Your mentor seems to have noticed the mood in the air. She raised an eyebrow at you. Miss Tomia, can I speak with you alone for a second? Okay. What's wrong? Is everything okay? Miss Tomia, Beatrice, she's actually did murder William Frege. Miss Tomia's gaze narrows. Her eyes dart around the room to make sure the guards didn't overhear you. What are you talking about? How could you possibly know that? I used the idea of horse on her. She conspired with someone else to orchestrate William Frege's death. Have you told anyone else about this? No, it's not as if they believe me anyways. You're the only person who knows about my abilities. Okay, just stay quiet about this for the time being. Anyways, I need to get ready. The trial starts in half an hour. What? You're not seriously going to defend her, are you? Of course I am. I'm her attorney. But she's guilty. I saw it! Look, at this point, I don't know what you saw. Do you think I could just abandon a client minutes before a trial? No, but it's not easier for us to decide who's guilty and who's not. Everyone has a right to an attorney. Our court system needs a defense attorney and a prosecutor to keep things fair. More importantly, you have no right to use that Eye of Horus on my clients without my permission. But I don't have time to argue about this. We'll be talking about this later. Before you have the chance to respond, Miss Tomia walks away. Celeste sees both of you and awkwardly approaches you. Hey, Tyrion, is everything okay? Celeste, I think Beatrice was actually behind us. What? You don't blame her for not believing you. It's not as if you could tell her about the Eye of Horus. Although, why haven't you told her? Alright, I believe you. What? You wouldn't say something like that if you weren't sure, right? But what if you're saying it's true? What do we do now? You think long and hard for a moment. I don't think we need to do anything. What? Dylan is handling the prosecution, and she's definitely no pushover. If Beatrice is truly guilty, I'll have to trust her and get the job done. Either way, I don't think we're in any position to get involved. Alright, if you say so. It's really none of your business. That was until you have no stake in this. You're not obligated to do anything. You have done everything you can. It's in their hands now. It's none of your business. This isn't your fight. William Frege, it was a tyrant and a bigot anyways. He's a noble who did nothing but steal wealth from the common folk. The world's better off without him. And it's not as if you didn't try. All you have to do is wait for the trial to run its course.
Objection!
Your Honor, I'm afraid I can't let you pass the verdict just yet. Mr. Cuthbert? Cuthbert! What the hell are you doing? I don't know. But what I do know is that there was a massive contradiction in Miriam Frege's testimony. Who are you kidding? As if you were the type of person to stand by and do nothing. Yeah. But that's where I'm gonna end it for tonight. My head is starting to hurt. And I need to calm myself down. So, anyways, thank you all for joining tonight. And just one last one for the road. Mahogany. Just gonna quickly see if there's anyone in whom we can quickly read for tonight. Nope! I was just checking my followers list real quick if there's anyone. And the answer is no. So I'm gonna end it here. And I'll see you guys maybe Saturday. I don't know. Things are gonna be working. I don't know how things are gonna work Saturday, so maybe Saturday. I don't know. See you Tuesday at the latest. Bye!